So, yeah, it was tiring. We had so much fun. We loved it. We loved every minute of it. We had no complaints about it at all. We might get a little hungry, a little cranky, but we really, truly loved it. We didn't know. I mean, there was no way for us to have known at the time that what we were doing would have lasted this long. And I have to say that Divine died 21 years ago. And to me, it just feels overwhelmingly terrific that 21 years later, people still want to dress like Divine. People still watch the movies. I'm thrilled by that. I mean, you don't know what this does to me, to come into the theater tonight 20-some years later, and you still like it. That's really extraordinary. And I feel, we had no idea that I knew we were doing something really interesting, but I had no idea it was going to be this amazing and this eternal. Well, that's really a pretentious word.
Will live forever. It will. Yeah, I mean, people will always be watching this movie.
It's on TV now. If you had told me 20 years ago this movie would ever be on television, Pink Flamingos is on television.
So your life changed pretty drastically, probably after Pink Flamingos, I would guess.
No.
No?
Particularly. I went to, I moved, well see, during Pink Flamingos, John and I lived in the same house. We were roommates. We were each other's last roommate. And we lived in the house that the Marvels lived in Pink Flamingos. And when the movie was over, I went to San Francisco, and Divine also came out, and we were working with the Cockettes in San Francisco, which was a really great experience for both of us. But I was in San Francisco when Pink Flamingos opened. Now it had opened in New York and was this huge midnight success and blah, 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 all this was going on. But I was the only representative of the film when it opened in San Francisco. And San Francisco had a completely different reaction. I can remember standing in the lobby after the movie was over, waiting for my boyfriend to come out of the men's room. And people were coming up to me and going, that was good. Yeah, I really liked it. Yeah, it was just this deathly pall, because they were shocked. They had seen earlier films. They had seen films before that, but Pink Flamingos terrified them sometimes. Later it picked up, but that night it was. So no, nothing happened to me. Nothing ever changed.
Same old. Do drag queens do you?
They don't do me so much as they do Divine. They do Divine all the time. Actually, very often people still think I am a drag queen. That happens. I mean, I did a show in San Francisco a couple of years ago with my band, and on it had Mink and his wonderful band on the marquee. And it's not because they look at me. I mean, because I'm frontally naked in movies. I mean, it's not like you can't tell I'm female, sort of. I mean, I'm thin, but it's just because of my name. Because when I got the name Mink Stoll, it was 1966. It was the era of the Warhol superstar. So people had names like Ultraviolet and Ingrid Superstar. And my name is Nancy Stoll, which is sort of a boring kind of name. So I asked John, when you bill me as something else. So he came up with Mink Stoll. It was actually originally Mink Stoll the Precious Jew -L. that was, but we dropped all that. You couldn't put it on a marquee. And we also thought maybe people would think it was racial. But since then, I mean, and drag queens back then didn't use funny names. They wanted to be women. They were odd women's names, but they were extravagant, pretentious women's names. So it's only in the last few, 20 years or so that they've had funny names. And so now, people just hear a funny name and they think it's a drag queen. And it's also, John Waters and the Divine Connection. And the funniest thing that I just realized about my name is that I realized that it is a politically incorrect fashion now. However, recently I joined a gym, and this very skinny 20-year-old was taking my information, and I joined as Mink Stoll because it's just easier that way. And she said, and how did you get the name Mink? And I said, well, my last name is Stoll. And she looked at me, and she said, okay, but how did you get the name Mink? And then I realized not only am I a politically incorrect fashion noun, I'm now an obsolete politically incorrect. It's nice to be old.
So you of course have starred in dozens and dozens of non.
Oh, dozens and dozens.
It's true. It's
dozens,
true.
yeah.
And it seems like in the last couple of years, you kind of developed this character of playing.
I play the mother of the gay. Yes,
I
I
guess
do.
it is,
I
right.
play the mother of the
So
gay.
what's that all about?
I don't know. The first one I did was about 10 years ago. I played Natasha Lyonne's mom in a movie called But I'm a Cheerleader. And I actually just made another movie with her. Just worked on a horror movie with her in San Francisco called All About Evil. And I really hope it turns out as much fun as it was to make, because it was really, I had to have my mouth sewn shut and my head cut off. All kinds of really good stuff. By Natasha. Getting me back for being such a bad mother, I guess. Yeah, but then a couple of years after that, I played the mother of Robin Greenspan in a movie called Girl Play. And in all of these movies, I'm the mother of the gay who is very unhappy about it. But then by the end of the movie, I'm reconciled. So they're all very politically correct. And then a couple of years ago, I also made a movie called, this one's great, Eating Out 2, Sloppy Seconds.
Which we showed you a lot.
Have you really?
Yes, we showed. You were great.
And I play the mother of a young man that I'm perfectly fine that he's gay, but then I see him with a woman and I think that he pretends to be straight so as to get this guy that he likes. And I think that he might be straight, and I get all very excited at the prospect of having grandchildren, until I realize that I would rather have somebody to watch the Academy Awards with. And then he tells me that he's in fact not straight, not very happy. And there may, actually, that was the sequel, I wasn't in the original, but that was the sequel to a movie called Eating Out. So now there was Eating Out 2, Sloppy Seconds. There may be a third. The saga continues. And if there is a third, I will be in that one as well.
Still eating out.
Yes, still Eating Out.
And I believe your son was a former American Idol
He was,
contestant.
first season.
Yeah, Jim Ferraros, for those of you who watch American
Right.
Idol. And also, last week you were in Georgia filming.
I was in Georgia filming a black and white prison film, but with a guy named Steve Balderson as the director, and it stars Karen Black and me and Jane Weedland from the Go-Go's, and we had a really good. Karen's not on my cell block. It was she's the one who got the innocent victim, because there has to be an innocent victim. She's the one that got the innocent victim arrested and convicted and sentenced to die. But we're all on death row, and it's really fun. I play a religious fanatic, and I killed IRS agents during a religious blackout. That's how I got it. It's a lot of, it's got all the women in prison cliches that you could ever want: the sadistic guard, the innocent victim, the lesbians. It's good. I think it's going to be good. But Macon, Georgia is a fabulous place. If any of you have ever been there, I've never been, and I was thinking I was going to be stuck with a lot of Georgia crackers. But it's actually a very sophisticated town, and I'm comfortable in the South because my mother was from the South. So first thing I always say is my mama was from Georgia, and then everybody's really nice to me. I like that.
So I want to wrap up and then I want to open it up to the audience, but I wanted to ask you one more question I refer to you as a cult movie queen, and I think a lot of people think of you in that way.
I never have, but I'll take it, thanks.
Well, I know you've done a lot of dramatic parts on stage in the theater.
Uh-huh.
Are you kind of itching to do that on film? Do you think you could do?
Well, I've always wanted to do real serious film noir. I've always wanted to do that, and I sort of think of myself as the Agnes Moorehead of the underground cinema, and, which is a real compliment to me because she's brilliant, and it's kind of an egotistical thing for me to say, but she had one of those faces. She could be really tense and uptight. She could be very glamorous. Actually, I'm still waiting for my TV series. But I'd love to do something really dark. The Women in Prison movie we went there thinking it was a comedy, but by the end of it, it didn't feel like one anymore. So that may have done. So that was kind of interesting and intense. But yes, to do something that's very quiet and still would be very interesting for me, because mostly what I do is not quiet and still.
Didn't you play Van Helsing at a stage production of
I
Dracula?
did. How
How did that work?
It was fine. It was funny. It was. I mean, I just wore my hair in a braid. I mean, it's not a role that's really sex specific. So I mean, it is. It's a man in the book, but it wasn't a sex specific. It didn't need to be a man.
I wish I could have been there.
It was fun. Yeah.
So,
And I've done Shakespeare. I love doing Shakespeare.
so do you prefer film over theater, or does it?
It's completely different. Right now, my very favorite. I mean, my favorite thing is always the project I'm working on or have just finished, and you know, so my favorite things right now are women in prison movies and horror movies. But my real favorite is being myself on the stage with my band. I really, truly love that, because I'm not dependent on anybody else's words. If I flub a line, it's only mine, and I don't care. So, you know, I mean, that's very liberating. A lot of actors don't like to be themselves. They want to hide, but you know, they like to be within characters. And that's a wonderful thing too, but there's something really amazing about standing like this, just being on the stage and talking to an audience. I really, really like that. Forget the fourth wall. You know, just actually be there and you know, connect with human beings that are actually there and not pretending they're not.
Well, I hope you get a chance to tour with your band, because we would love to have you here.
I would love to. It's expensive to travel a band, so yeah, I would like to very much. Thank you.
Would you want to take some questions from the audience?
Sure.
So could you turn the stage light